Hi all. Right, welcome to Labyrinth, the extended campaign, solo, part one. And this is a restart of my previous effort. So it's going to include um, the base games deck, Labyrinth, War and Terror, which I've got all set up. It will then, second deck will be around here, the Awakening. So we'll bring in the Awakening cards. And then the third deck will be the Forever War deck. And that's hopefully I get through it this time. Clearly, if any of you have been following, I did try this already. Got to near the end of the first deck, and just realised I'd made far too many errors. I was also confused a bit by the flowchart operations and some things, but just near the end there are far too many errors. Even got a couple more to talk about here, which I'll just mention quickly. So I've reset the game. I hopefully can make a better job of this. Now I won't. I'm certainly not going to say I'm still going to make it flawless, and we're not going to make a mistake at all. I mean, that would be in an ideal world how I'd like it. What I could do is I could have the app automated bot, whatever you want to call it, set up beside me here on my tablet, and I could carry out the operation as I seen it, and then I could just input the card into the app, click the button, and it'll tell me what I should have done, and if they match up, we move on. If they don't match up, I could look down and sort of say, right, I've made a mistake there. How have I made the mistake? Where does the mistake come from? I don't. I mean, I keep thinking about doing it that way, but I just. It means I'm not. It means I'm not going to make a mistake at all, doesn't it? Or if I am, it's linked to the bot. It's maybe some coding that's wrong or something. Um. So I don't know. It just feels a bit dull that doing it that way. So, and whether anybody watching along might want to do that, and comment that I've got that wrong because this, that, and the next thing, then fair enough. I surely can't make as bad a job as I've made of things. It didn't help that we were doing a couple of things that we thought might be right, but I don't think they were right, but there is definitely some rules issues I feel, certainly more than I thought in the game, certain wordings and whatever, and there's still going to be two or three things I'm going to come across where I'm going to be a bit confused about as well. I think certainly the last couple of things a few of the last couple of things that Jean brought up in the previous playthrough, about the event on the event cards, whether you come straight here to the recruit travel or you go here. I think I'm going to have to ask that question BGG, because I don't find that conclusive enough. I know he says that before there's always been a reference of the word flowchart. Interestingly, I looked at this was the Forever War ones, and I thought, is there any in here that are there? And interestingly, look, they've added that. Well, in actual fact, hang on here. If you're telling me, right, that Jadis videos there, that was the one that was mentioned, wasn't it? Yes, then use recruit and travel to priorities, right? Now, my take on that was, come here, recruit and travel to priorities. It doesn't say the word flowchart, it doesn't say the word table. John's telling me that I should come straight here. I mean, I debate that a bit and how it's worded. However, he's been running it through an app that has been following that. So, in the new chart here for the Labyrinth Forever War, now it could be that this is highlighting it as being the flowchart. But look, recruit, where is it? Yeah, for this card here, use recruit and travel to priorities, Op P in brackets. Now that's the only sort of added bit. But the op P part about it is not mentioned there, but it is mentioned up there. So with that card, I'd be much more confident that I was starting here than here with that. Anyway, yeah, I think likes of that, I'm going to have to go and try and get an answer on BGG. But unfortunately, the few questions that were asked on BGG has just been talked about by the people that I've sort of been following along with my playthrough, and nobody of real authority as such. Yes, you could put all these things through that app and tell you what the answer is there. But, I'd rather the designer or somebody came along and answered it rather than this app, because I'm not even sure that this app's an official sort of thing, if it's been run through the designer or not. It could just be that the guy that's done the app, I don't know here, so I'm maybe saying the wrong things, but it could just be that he's done it on his belief that this is where you look here rather than here, just to give that one as an example. Or Benazir in play, you skip by that box, but anyway, let's not go into it too much. Okay, so yeah, couple of I want to say there was another couple, but I can't sort of recall them. Mistakes that I've made, or that have just been brought up recently since I cut the last part 23 there. And I've renamed all the videos as well, just Labyrinth, One Deck, Solo. I put them in a new playlist. I deleted there was 4 videos on BGG. I'd only uploaded 4. I've just deleted them, because I don't want to confuse folk with that. So they're only on my channel. Like I say, in a different playlist, and I'll put this new one. This one will be titled Labyrinth Extended Campaign Part 1. I should probably add the solo bit in there as well, shouldn't I? No, I thought of that actually. I don't think I had that before. And then they'll go in the playlist at the same name that's still there. Or I might add the word solo at that as well. But anyway, okay, so I want to get started here, so don't want to go on too much. But the most recent comment John mentioned was 11.32. And again, this is talking about the previous playthrough, but I was sure that when the pots got used, that they didn't come back right away after each phase, and they only returned after the end of the next turn, and I was sure I'd read it. Well, he highlights and points out the rule that I had read, obviously, and it's in the new rules, 11.3.2, so it's not part of the base rules, well, the thing is, these are changes to the Awakening rules, so I suppose technically while I'm playing the base game, maybe I shouldn't be using this as such. I don't think it's a big deal. It's not going to be that relevant. I don't think it's going to be relevant at all. It says the Jihadist player is limited to placing each plot marker once per turn. Once a non-WMD plot is revealed, either by alert, event, or by being resolved, place it in the resolved plots box, where it is unavailable until the end of turn sequence, when all 6 plots become available again. WMD plots are removed from play after use by the player's specific events or after being alerted. And I actually had to hunt about for the resolved plots box, and there it's there, up there. So my guess is in the base rules, this is the base map. It's not, why is this box here? If when you use a plot in the base game, it would just go back to here. So could it be that you are meant to put them there? Does it maybe say that in the base rules? You know what? I don't know. I mean, it certainly doesn't go into explaining that they go up there and they're not available till the end of the next turn. I don't think, anyway, because I hunted through the rules for it, didn't I? Anyway, he's brought that, so thanks for that, Sean. And the other one that I can remember was another mistake, and I did reply to this where it's good to get all these mistakes out of the way now before I start a new game, and hopefully these will all be in my head and I won't make them again. Initial tests. When I was doing travel operations with the bot, the purpose of what they were trying to do was to test non-Muslim countries to try and get a global war or terror relations penalty by testing countries soft. Obviously, there's a higher chance of them going soft than hard when you test them. But I didn't realise this. When you do a travel operation, it says the locale or target of an operation, including a failed travel operation. And sorry, this is about initial tests, so 4.9.4. Role for governance if a Muslim country or posture of a non-Muslim country. Whenever a country whose governance or posture is not yet marked, an unmarked country is selected as, so it could be the target of a travel operation, and the travel could fail. Now it doesn't say that that a recruit operation, if it failed, it would target it, but it does say there that a failed travel would target it. A little bit odd that, but it's there in the rules, it's there in black and white. I'm not. Maybe there's some reason for it, because it doesn't say there. So if has a cell or pot placed in it by event. So, well, I guess if it was a recruit operation in a country, though, there would have to be a cell or a cadre there. So then it would already be tested, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think so. And the other way it can happen if it's subject to a test. But anyway, that was a mistake that I made as well. I had failed a travel operation, possibly more than once, by the way, because I didn't realise that was a thing. And that's the thing about these rules. These rules are not only a bit clunkier than I thought, but they're much more. They're trickier than I thought. And remember, the base game rules is 16 pages long only. It's really a heavier game than it seems. And it's certainly catching me out an awful lot. Okay, I've got the game set up. I've shuffled up all the cards. I've not dealt the hands out yet. I'm going to try and take things slow. I mean, everything I do is slow anyway, but I'm going to hopefully try and pause a bit more so that I can just be sure about what it is I'm doing. Just think it through a bit more, Grant, while you're paused. And hopefully we'll get a bit better gameplay. Like I say, it's not going to be flawless. Yes, I'm going to make mistakes. Some of these mistakes are just going to have to be noted by whoever picks them up, whether it's myself and I've left it too long to fix, or whether it's by another viewer, as long as they're noted, and then I just move on. But hopefully I don't get caught up with too much that makes me get through that deck and then say, oh, there's too much happened, let's not bother moving on with the second deck. Okay, let's get the hands dealt out. So they're going to get, we're both getting 9 cards to start, aren't we? Yeah. The troops is in the low intensity, and this is just the let's roll scenario, the main sort of scenario that you start with, and then we go through that one deck. Interestingly, I realised that when you get down to the last so many cards, I went to deal out what you thought were the last cards, but if you can't deal out the full hand size to each player, you would then either reshuffle the deck if you're using that deck again, or then that's when we move on to the second deck. So there ended up being, I want to say it was 13 or 14 cards left over. I wasn't able to deal out, I think we were wanting to deal out 16, I think it was. So I didn't have 16 cards to deal out, so you don't deal. I thought you would maybe just deal out as much as you could and play the hands out as the last turn. But no, according to the rules, it's when you can't draw a card from that deck that you then end the game or do the reshuffle. And let's say we wouldn't be reshuffling, we'd just be introducing the new deck. So that was interesting to see at the end as well. So you're unlikely to see every single card in the deck. You're more than likely going to be left with 10 to 15 cards maybe left out at the end. Okay, so 99 cards each, so I'll grab a bunch of cards. I don't know if that's enough, Grant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I need some more. 7. Oops. I've lost my count now. 7, 7, I think that was 8, 8, 9, 9. I'll just double check we've got 9 each there. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, 9 cards for me, and then just double check the boards. 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right, okay. So good to go. Like I say, I'm pretty sure things are set up as they should be. You've got the 4 cells in Afghanistan with Islamist rule with them. So they start off the game with 1 point, 1 resource point. There's 3 fair countries. We've got 2 troops Gulf states, 2 troops Saudi Arabia. You've got the Baziz regime marker. Your prestige starts at 7, so it's in the high. US starters hard and world's hard based on Israel starting hard. Okay, so yeah, I think we can just get going and draw the first card and see how we get on. Right, first card for the jihadist bot. Here we go. Nest, right, it's a US card. So I dare say I'll just do the same. I'll read out the event if it's if I'm going to play the event, I think. Yeah, I probably should. I'm going to come across some cards that I've already read out the events for, but it's a wee bit extra time, but not that much. Okay, so the first card, and it's a US card, so we know we can't play the event. So we start with a flowchart, and it's a 1 operations card. So is it a playable non-US event? No. Is major jihad success at poor possible? For that we need... Well, I'm hopefully not going to try and go through all the different rules again, but when I do that, it's for myself. I struggle to retain all the information. I want to make sure I'm getting it right, so I'm going to be looking at these charts and whatever. And more than likely, generally a lot of that then comes across by me saying, right, I need this in here, I need a cell in here, needs to be 5 more cells and troops and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's what a major jihad is. A non-Islamist rule country with 5 more cells than troops. So the only one we've got cells in is under Islamist rule. Did these cells start sleeper cells then? Yeah, they must do. Yeah, there was no mention, I don't think. Let me just check the Let's Roll scenario. Afghanistan, Islamist rule adversary, 4 cells. Yeah, I mean, it just says 4 cells, so they aren't active. Okay, so we can't do a major jihad. Is funding tight? It is not. Is there a cell in good or fair Muslim mood? Right. Well, yeah. One little bit more about that. John followed up with some more comments on this. Where GSP? It's there. Where GSP? Right. He says that if you look at the old bot rules, jihad success possible is a question, right? So, fair enough. I mean, I could... Let me see the flow chart. You know what? I shouldn't... There's... Right there, I'm looking at jihad possible and good fair. Major jihad success possible. These are actual questions. And I suppose he's bringing that to light in the fact that he still has the belief that this here, and where we're reading GSP here, question mark, selling good or fair Muslim, I get. When it says where GSP, he's saying that this means it says jihad success possible. Let's not consider the next sentence. And what he's saying is that that's the first part of this. Is a jihad success possible? That's not how I read it, but he could be right. And I'll tell you what, if he's right, then I've already said that this needs to be worded better, you know? So if his thinking is, that's the first part. The second part is only talking about awakened reaction markers. But to me, I read this as jihad success possible, and then it carries on. This is true if, and I'm not going to, this is true if current awakening and reaction markers, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, to me, I still don't consider this until we have an awakening or a reaction marker in play. However, we already found out that it looked like that if we check this and go here and realise we can't do this, then what we are going to do is we're going to backtrack here and say that we can't do this minor jihad, and we're going to come down here, right? That's how I'm playing it now, for now. Because there was an event that came up in the previous game that caused so much bother with us. There was also another event, which, like I say, I think the rules should be able to deal with them conditions better, for sure. They've got this events table, and I know it's a helpful thing. They didn't have this in the base game. They only had some events that were in the rulebook that said if this event comes up, you do this, and that's sort of one of the things that came up with right, no go there, Grant. So, it's got this, and it's got some guide. It's not so much guidance; it's telling you what to do. But there was no talk about the big event that we had in the previous game. I think there could be more to deal with that better, but. And then, of course, even asking the question on BGG, like I say, not really getting the support, unfortunately. Just getting people that are that play the game and what their thoughts are. And okay, we're getting some added help with Jean following this automated bot and trying to tell us what it's doing. But again, I don't know. I don't know if there's an official link between this game. Thing is, the other thing I was thinking, this game's on Steam now as well, isn't it? So you can play it on your computer, this game. That would be interesting to see as well, I suppose. I don't know if you could create that same event and that. I mean, I think you'd have to just play the game and hope that the same it came up, and then you could see what the bot done. Right, anyway. Where are we? Let's get back to the flowchart. So, is there a cell in good or fair Muslim? No. The only cells are in Islamist rule. Okay, so no. So, no. Poor Muslim will 1 to 4 more cells than troops and militia. No. Again, there's only 4 cells and they're in there. So, no. Fund moderate. No. Cell available. Yes. Recruit. Okay. So, it's going to recruit. Now... This is the first thing you do when you're running the bot. This tells you what operation you're going to do. And near the end of the video playthrough, I got caught out with this, and I do believe he was correct in saying that because this says cell and non-Muslim, and we go to here to plot, because there is a cell and non, it must be to do with if there's not, it's going to travel. That must be the reasoning for this. But anyway, if there's a cell and non-Muslim and it goes yes. There is a cell in non-Muslim. When it comes to plot, what my mistake was, I kept this in mind. And I took this on to the flowchart here, the next flowchart, with the fact that I needed to select a non-Muslim country. And I think John brought this up and said that's wrong. And I'm pretty sure he's right by that. So, again, this is something I've got to keep in mind. So, what we've done here is we've decided that they're going to recruit. Now, all these things that we came through, poor Muslim, whatever it said, whatever I asked you before, doesn't matter. It's going to recruit. So we come here, we'll look at this little flowchart here. If we can't find just one country, we're then going to come to the priorities table and go down them, right down the bottom. If we still can't find anybody, still can't break it down to just one country, one target, then we're going to randomly decide. Okay? So, okay. Right, so... recruit and travel to. That's what we're doing, aren't we? We're recruiting. Is there poor Muslim 1 to 4 more cells and troops and militia? Well, we just got asked that question back there, so no. So we move on. If recruit, auto recruit with best. Right. Again, best jihad DRM is again a reference down here that tells you that it's talking about. In fact, it's even got the 2 little symbols there. that say it's not applicable in the base game. So this is not applicable in the base game. And it's about reaction and awakening markers. Admittedly, these two symbols aren't there, so there's a little point that says, I mean, if the symbols were there, wouldn't they be here as well, Grant, to tell you that this is only not applicable in the base game? There's an argument against what I'm saying then, I suppose. Okay, so what was the question again? It was if recruit, auto-recruit, and we'll forget about the best jihad DRM. So if we can recruit, we're going to auto-recruit. Now, auto-recruit countries are, in the base game, the regime change countries and the Islamist rule countries, right? Let me just see. I know it was Tim highlighted there's 4 different occurrences of them. I want to say the other 2 are in the expansions or expansion. Yeah, I always remember coming here at first, and that's why I actually missed out the Islamist rule one, because Islamist rule here says automatic, all roles succeed. No matter what you're doing in Islamist rule, the jihad does it automatically, right? And under here, the auto-recruit, regime change, recruit roles in regime change countries automatically succeed. They're the 2 conditions that come in there in the base game. Training camps was the other one that was brought up. I think that's an awakening. And I can't remember the other one that Tim said. It was almost on my... I felt like it was on the tip of my tongue there, but it's gone again. No doubt somebody will mention it. Anyway, so do we have can we recruit in an auto-recruit country? And by the way, just take note of that little note there as well, that even though it's wanting to recruit in an auto-recruit country, that it's going to recruit in that auto-recruit country, the Islamist rule country last. So right now, if we had a regime change country and an Islamist rule range country, the priority would be the regime change country, and it would recruit there if it could. However, we've not got a regime change country, we've only got an Islamist rule country here, so it's going to recruit there automatically. It was 1 ops, so we're going to take 1 cell and put it in Afghanistan. That's the first operation done. They only had 1 ops. I mean, they would have recruited more in there. If it was a 2 ops card, they would recruit 2 cells. If it was 3, they would recruit 3. There'd be none left over. That was a US event that was unplayable, so nothing added to reserves. That is the first card done. Right, surely we didn't make a mistake with that. Well, I don't believe so, but I'm looking at... I paused there and looked even still, thinking, right, are you sure you've done all that right? Are you sure that... It's tough playing these games on recording them as well. You know, there was a few comments. I've had a few comments about things. You got to. I mean, I'm sure you do understand what it's quite tough trying to do this, record that, get it all right, explain what you're doing, and I will make daft things. I'll not read the full sentence and not read the full paragraph, or not read the next sentence that matters, and I'll talk about some things. One of the ones that was brought up was this was a country I should have been dealing with at the time of the operation that we were doing, and I actually look at these 2, because these 2 are actually additionally added. I probably should have said that. These come in the awakening expansion, and you can see they're adjacent to such and such and such and such. But this is a non-Muslim country, a poor non-Muslim country. And Mali is just a Muslim country, a Sunni, that's Sunni, isn't it? Yeah, Muslim country. And they're in play from the beginning. It does say that in the extended campaign rules, because the extended campaign is actually in the Forever War. Well, they've got a campaign that's in the Awakening rules, and then they've got the extended campaign that's in the Forever War rules, and which just tells you the campaign that's in the Awakening rules says you use this deck once and then the Awakening deck once, and then the extended campaign obviously includes that was bothering me. It wasn't tidy enough for me. That also includes the Forever War. But the extended campaign rules, as do the campaign rules, just tell you. You see, it says set up as let's roll. If you want to look more at all this, I suppose, if you look at my previous playthrough, which I've renamed One Deck Solo, but I'm talking about all this because my plan was to do it all. So I'll maybe give more information on that. It says both Mali, which is a Muslim country, and Nigeria, a non-Muslim country, begins the game as active countries and players may operate in them normally from the beginning. Okay, gives you some other things there, which, again, I'm not going to go over again. I did go over it in the first thing, but I suppose it's more relevant to this now, hopefully. And then it says, the Labyrinth Awakening expansion rules, player aid card and end of turn sequence commence with the first card draw from deck 2. So whenever we draw the first Awakening card, I'm going to have to come back here and look at some rules. The Forever War rules in itself, there's not enough of a lot that was added. So, okay. Right, let's just move on and do a second card, because then I've got to look at my cards and work out maybe what I'm going to do. You know, I've only got time for a part to get started here. Right, so second card for the Jihadist bot. Right, it's an unassociated event. His boot Tahrir. Okay. Ostensibly non-violent Islamism. So if troops in overstretch, +2 to funding. Right, the troops is in low intensity. If troops at low intensity, -2 to funding. So the bot's clearly not going to play this when we look up card 100 in the events table. That's going to say it's unplayable if troops are... card 100. Treat as unplayable unless troops in overstretch and funding is less than 9. Yeah, so even if funding's at 9 at the moment, so even if troops were in overstretch, it still wouldn't play this because it's not going to get a boost to its funding. So it's better using the 1-ops. So, yeah, so it's unplayable. They're not going to play it for the event. Right, so got to remember this time, no, they need to play it for the event for you to get the reserves grant. So yeah, it's a rather slow start for the bot. He's only going to use a 1-ops, non-playable event again. And we probably don't need to go through everything. I'm pretty sure there's a cell coming into getting recruited in Afghanistan. But I want to be sure. So, just quick run through. So, playable non-use event, no major jihad success at poor possible, no funding tight, selling good or fair Muslim. Remember, the only sales are in the Islamist ruled country. So, no, funding's not moderate, sell available, yes, so recruit. So, then, generally, it's always going to start off this way with the game for the bot, unless he was to have drawn some jihadist events. Or playable events, anyway. I mean, this could have been a playable event, but you can see it's not. So again, we're just going to recruit, it was just 1-ops, we're going to recruit one more cell into Afghanistan. Again, because Afghanistan's auto-recruit, remember? And I suppose I didn't. Again, poor Muslim will 1 to 4 more cells, no. If recruit, auto-recruit. Islam's rule last, but Islam's rule's the only option, so the cell goes in there. That's it. That's their 2 card plays for the for that phase. You can see this has got mark and remove, but this wasn't played for the event, so these cards are both just going in the discard pile. As we don't reshuffle the deck, it doesn't really matter, although we did experience in the previous game, there's an oil price spike card. In fact, there's more than one of them. I'm going to say there's 2 or 3 of them in the deck. And if that's played for the event, you're allowed to bring a card out of the discard pile. So I'm going to put my discards there. I'll put the removed cards up the back there out of the way. And obviously if they're removed, they can't get brought back. But if they're in the discard pile, they can with that oil price spike. Right, that was the first play. Right, let's have a look at my cards. Well, this looks pretty scary. We've got 5 jihadist cards. We've got 3... unassociated cards and only 1 US cards. Right, I haven't had a look at them yet, so let's just see what ones are going to be playable. Well, this is clearly playable unless there was no sales on the track, so that's bad. Okay. Detaining release. Play if US disrupted this or last action phase. Okay, so we can work around about that and get away with that not triggering. I don't know. Place a sale, we'll just disrupt the card, draw a card. Yeah, anyway, we can play around about that carefully. And this is play. You'll see that it's in a greyish text. You might not see it on the camera that well. That's a condition for it to be playable. The grey text. This one, there's no condition for it to be playable, so it can be a playable card. But if there was no sales on the track, it wouldn't do anything. And now for us, playing it for us that way, if there's no sales on the track, is good. We just, because we play it for the ops anyway, we don't play the event. We play it for the ops, but the event will always get checked to trigger. So it wouldn't do anything if there's no sales on the track. Right. Okay, HEU, play if Russia or Central Asia has a sell and no CTR marker. Well, at the moment, that doesn't apply either. So these two cards are playable, just I've got to be careful about play if US disrupted this or last action. Well, we never had an action phase yet, so I could play that right now. I could use that to disrupt actually. Basically just play the event first, trigger the event first. We've not done a disruption, then use the two ops to do the disruption. But you're allowed to do it that way. But that's my understanding anyway. Right. Okay, what are the other two? Alan Barr. Place a cell in Iraq. Disrupt in Iraq or Syria affects once. Yeah, we had this before. This is pretty bad. And that's not got any grey text. That's just place a cell in Iraq. So again, unless you didn't have cells on the track. In fact, even if you didn't have cells on the track there, has it not got a... Yes, it's got a wee Anbar, isn't it? Anbar. It's bought by Anbar Awakening. There's Anbar. So we had this in play in the last game. I don't know if that's focusing or not, but you can only disrupt one cell. So even if it didn't have a cell on the track, this would still go in there to say that we can only disrupt one cell. This is bad. We might be wanting to try and keep that till the end and discard it. So Adam Gadan, play a first card of Jihadist action phase and a cell is available. Well, that's never going to be... In our hand, that's always going to be unplayable, isn't it? Yeah, so that's good as well. So, right, hang on. Well, that one and that one are playable events. Whether we can, by the end of the turn, whether there might not be any cells on the track, it's possible. They didn't start off with just one ops in both cards, so maybe not. Right, but anyway, they two are playable. The other three we should be fine with. Oil price spike, I was just talking about that. So select, reveal and draw a card other than oil price spike from the discard pile or a box. And which means the lapsing event boxes, I think. If there's a lapsing event in play, you could take that. Plus one of the resources of each oil producing country for the turn. That's not going to come. That's not going to be of any effect. It's a 3-ops card though, so and there's not much in the discard pile. So unless there was a really good card, well, just looking up there, there's the two cards that the bot got rid of. This would allow us to give them -2 funding, which isn't bad. This says WMD plots in the US are always face up. One player, if jihadists have WMD, all plots in the US plays faced up. I don't think that's much good either. I mean, that's okay. But would I want to use a 3-ops event to bring this card back to my hand? No, it's a rotten timey I've got this, really, to be honest. Of course, I've not looked at the rest of these three cards. One of these three cards could be well worth playing twice, so... So what we got? We got... these are unassociated, remember. So, Zawahiri. US may play, if no Islamist rule, Fatah or Al-Anbar. Right, okay, well, we do have an Islamist rule, so at the moment it's not playable. -2 funding, remove this card. That's what we would do. However, it's not playable while Islamist rules there. But generally, the first thing we want to do is take care of that. Just notice, though, that is our only 3 ops card, isn't it? The oil price spike. Don't get me wrong, we could chuck something at reserves and add up to 3, but... Right, finishing off, we've got Danish cartoons. It was all, yeah... Got this card before as well. US side selects Scandinavia's posture. Then jihadists place an available plot 1, or if any Islamist rule, any available plot. Well, there is Islamist rule, so probably not want to play that for the event. I don't know. We might keep that till later. We'll see. And then this one is the only US playable event. We've got set Turkey to fair ally. It's okay. It's pretty good. I mean, it's good, but... Okay, so that's us. I mean, generally, you want to... I think probably most folks start off with getting rid of Afghanistan being Islamist rule. Because one of the end of turn conditions hits your prestige if you've got a country under Islamist rule. So that in itself is enough. Especially when you're sitting in the 7 box here, getting a +1 for your War of Ideas. Going down to 6 takes that +1 away, so that's kind of huge. So to do, that means we need to do a regime change, and that costs 3 ops, doesn't it? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, use 3 ops. US, another thing is US must be hard, so yeah, you want to take care of this now, just in case things start going bad regarding the US. So overthrow Islamist rule, create ally, Islamist rule country is the target. Special US must be hard, use 3 ops. We've got to deploy 6+ troops, all cells to active. Shift to ally, roll governance, place green regime change, and then the scary bit at the end there is having to roll for our prestige. But you never know, we could get lucky. We could get a big number and then increase our prestige. The odds are slightly against that, so... Okay, right, so I think the fact that I've only got the one 3 ops card in my hand, I'm just going to put a card into reserves first and then use it on the second card to do the regime change. So, yeah, just looking down, remember these 2 would be playable, the other 3 would not. So I'm going to do... I'm going to use the Adam Gadan card, and I think I'll use this, because just in case, you know, Russia could end up with a cell or a CTR marker, whereas I think I can play around about this one. So these are the 2 cards that I'm going to use. So my first card play is going to be playing this for the ops of 1 and just chucking the 1 in reserves. The event would trigger if it says play a first card of jihadist action phase and a cell is available. Well, a cell is available, but this is not the first card of the jihadist action phase. So that's the card I'm playing, and I'm just not playing it for the event's not triggering, and we're just going to chuck 1 into our reserves. Right, and then my second card I'm going to play is HEU, and again obviously I'm playing this for the ops because it's a jihadist card. I'm going to use our reserves, so that's me got 3 ops, and this would trigger, it says play if Russia or Central Asia has a cell and no CTR marker. Russia or Central Asia do not have a cell, so that's that, right? So that's the 2 cards played. I've got 3 ops, and I'm going to do a regime change. Yes, must be hard. Use 3 ops. Deploy 6 plus troops. Right, all cells are going active. Let me fix that. And obviously our target is Afghanistan. Right, so all cells go active. 6. I've just chose 6. It's 6 plus troops. Now this was in low intensity. It's got to go to the box on the right. The furthest box to the right that's got less than 5 troops, isn't it? Does that mean it goes to war? I think it does, doesn't it? Let's be sure about that. Right, troops track. Place and move the troops marker into the rightmost box with fewer than 5 troop cubes. Yeah. Okay, so the rightmost box with fewer than 5 troops. This has got 5 troops, so it goes into what is that one called? War. Yeah, and that determines how many cards you get as well as some other things that might come up. Okay, so we've put the troops out. We've activated the cells. So deploy 6 plus troops. All cells to active. Shift to ally. So this is coming away. And we're going to have an ally alignment. However, is it going to be poor or fair? Because we're going to test this. Roll for governance. So governance is a 1 to 4 roll. It's going to be poor, and we'd prefer a 5 or 6, which would make it fair. We get a 3, so it is poor. But normally when you do the test, it would be neutral, poor neutral, but because it's a regime change, it is ally, so it's poor ally. And with that change, we're going to come down here and not do anything, actually. Yeah, no, we are going to do something. Because it was an Islamist rule country, so that'll not go down because it stayed poor. However, what did happen is they've lost their resource. They had 1 resource for Afghanistan being Islamist rule, and that's because of that number there. And now it's not Islamist rule, it's just a poor ally, so it's not resources for us and it's not resources for them. And moving on, back to regime change, role governance, which we've done. Shifted it to ally, place green regime change marker, and then roll for prestige, which is the big one. So that goes on the troops there, top. Telling us it's a regime change country. The reason it's green is only for end of game scoring purposes, and it goes to tan at the end of the turn anyway. And again, it's just for end of game scoring purposes. Right, so we're going to roll for prestige now. So this is where we want the big die roll. Roll for prestige. Purpose: randomly drop or raise US prestige when, after a regime change, a withdraw, an unblocked plot in the United States, or by event. We've just done a regime change, that's what's happening right now. Roll a die, modify the die roll by -1 if global war and terror relations penalty. That would be if that was like that or that right now. Well, that would be soft. Then there'd be a penalty between the US and the world, but there's not. So we're not going to penalty of that. Yeah, if the penalty was more than 0, it's just that straight up -1. It doesn't go -1, -2, -3. But okay, so and you can see that the odds are slightly against because it's a 1 to 4. It's going to drop prestige. If you can get a 5 or 6 out of this, though, it's going to put it up the way. And then whatever the result here is, we roll 2 dice and then we shift the prestige by the lowest number, either down the way or up the way, depending on how we get on with the first die roll. So this is a big one that you want a 5 or a 6. And yeah. Okay, here we go. Come on, be nice. Oh. No. Right, so we're going to roll 2 dice now and pick the lower number. So This is where we want two low numbers. Or no, just as long as it's one very low number. Here we go. Oof, I'll tell you what. That was good, but a bit scary. Okay, so Prestige is going down, and we rolled a 6 and a 1, so you pick the lower number of just 1. So Prestige just drops to 6. So that could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse, but I think we'll take that. Okay. I think that's our turn over. We played 2 cards. I'm at 50 minutes. I'd like to do one more bot turn if I can. Right, just pause a second, Grant, take it in and make sure you're feeling confident about things. Yeah, okay, I think I'm feeling okay about that. I mean, to be honest, the first couple of things that you do in this game early on, you really shouldn't be blundering with, but it didn't take me long to make a mistake in the previous effort, so... Okay, so regime change in Afghanistan. It's now poor ally. They do have 6 troops, because remember, they recruited twice with 1 ops, so... Sorry, 6 cells, and we've got 6 troops. We've also got troops here and here, so... Okay, so back to the bot. Well, hang on, sorry. These 2 cards. I played both these cards. Now... This card is not... This is just going to be discarded. Let me just look at this. Because it would only be removed if the event was played. And it says play if Russia or Central Asia has a cell. Right, yeah, no, that wasn't playable. See, it was brought to my attention that... Well... See if this card had removed down the bottom of it, and there was no cells on the track, and I played it for 2 ops, then it would still have been a played event, but just couldn't do anything. I think that's right. That got brought to my attention. I think it was Tim that brought that to my attention. But that did not be... The event wasn't playable, so it's not removed, that card. And the only reason that's... that matters here is for the oil price spike card, but we do have one in our hand. Not that we're going to bring that card back anyway, but... yeah, we're going to be honest, maybe see what the bot actually plays. Kind of hoping that it might discard something that's going to be more useful to us. Okay, so over at the bot again, yeah, should get 2 more cards here, and then that'll take us to about an hour or so, and an hour and a bit. And I'm going to have to call it a night. I've got an early start tomorrow for work, so here we go. Right, it's another US event, so not playable again. So it's just going to look at the 2 ops and yeah, check the flowchart. Right, so things changed a little bit now. Playable non-US event though. No. Major jihad success at poor possible. Right, well, we do have a poor country, but to get a major jihad, like we've already said previously, we need 5 more cells and troops. They've got 6 cells, we've got 6 troops. That is not 5 more than us, so there's not a major jihad possible. Is funding tight? It is not. Is there a cell in good or fair museum? No. They're all in Afghanistan, which is poor, so no. Right. Got to be careful with this one as well. I made a mistake with this as well. Because if there was 7 cells and 6 troops, then that would be a poor Muslim country with 1 to 4 more cells and troops. It's 6 against 6, so this doesn't apply, but again, I'm just sort of reminding myself that count the troops, count the cells, and make sure you've got the... It's not difficult maths, Grant, you know. So that is a no. Is funding moderate? It is not. Is there a cell available? It is. So it's going to recruit again. Yeah, it's going to recruit in Afghanistan again. But this time it is going to then end up with more cells and troops, so it is going to consider the poor Muslim with 1 to 4 more cells and troops. So recruit. Again, it's asking this question again here. That's not the case. It will be next time if it comes to it. So if recruit, which it is recruit, and the reason it says if recruit there is because this is recruit and travel to. So if you were travelling to right now, you would move on. You wouldn't look at this box at all. But we are recruiting, because that was our operation selected. If recruit, auto recruit. Again, and the wee note, Islamist rule last. Well, we've only got this country with cells. It's the only place you can put a cell. It needs to have a cell to recruit as well, you know. Yeah, it generally starts off like this. That's the way it is. So it's going to recruit in Afghanistan. The card was 2 ops, so it's got 2 cells. So it's going to take 2 cells and put them. They will be sleeper cells, whereas all the other cells are active. And they go in Afghanistan, recruited in Afghanistan. Now it's got 8 cells against the 6 troops. So keep that in mind. Alright, so that was the first card play. Nothing more to do there, no. It's all going a bit simple, and which worries me in case I'm missing something simple, but I don't think so. Okay, second card. Here we go. That's another US card. Okay. It's not really how I wanted things to play out. It's a bit dull, but anyway. Right, so a one ops US card. Remember, this time the difference is that there are 1 to 4 more cells than troops. I'm not sure that's going to matter though, but so is it a playable non-use event? No. Is a major jihad success at poor possible? It needs 5 more troops and cells. 5 more cells and troops, sorry. In there, but it is poor, so it's got 2 more cells and troops, which isn't quite enough yet. Funding tight, no. Sell and good affair, Musulman, no. Sell and good affair, no. This is a yes this time though. So it's a poor Muslim country with 1 to 4 more cells than troops. It's a poor Muslim country and it's got 2 more cells than troops. It's got 8 to 6, yeah. It's got 2 more cells than troops. So that's a yes. Unfortunately, it just goes here, and then it says among candidates, find travel to priority. There's only one candidate where travel to priority, which is Afghanistan. But the question then is there a movable cell adjacent? There is no cells adjacent to Afghanistan. So that's a no. So it again brings in funding moderate, no. Cell available, yes. It goes to recruit. This question is a yes this time. Poor Muslim with 1 to 4 more cells and troops, like we said. So it goes there. It doesn't get to this box this time. It goes there. It's only 1 ops. So again, it's going to recruit in Afghanistan. That's now 9 cells to 6 troops. So it's still too short on trying to do major jihad again. Okay, well, it was a shame. It was a little bit of a dull start. Really, all the bot done was recruit into Afghanistan, and then all we done was regime change. But yeah, that can sometimes be the way it is. So that's their 2 card plays. Both of them are US cards, so we're not played for event. Oh, actually, let's have a look at the cards, because remember we've got oil price spike. UN nation building. Play if a country is marked with regime change. And that is the case. Place 1 aid there and roll a war of ideas as if global war and terror penalty 0 blocked by the Demel slain. Place 1 aid there and roll a war of ideas as if global war on terror penalty is 0. Well, it's 0 anyway, but does it allow you to add an aid? It's not terrible. Special Forces, play if there is a cell in or adjacent to a country with troops. Yes, remove the cell. Yeah, that's a bit weak. This ain't bad, you know, for the oil price spike, maybe. Right, well, something to think about, I suppose. So yeah, just coming back, just quickly looking at my cards again. This is okay. This is a bit meh. US may play if no Islamist rule, so now we can play this and get -2 funding. So that's good. That's 2 ups as well. High price spike, well, we know about that. These are still both playable, so yeah, we're gonna have to work on that. I mean, I think out of the two, this is probably the worst one. And to be honest, if we're going to avoid both of these, there's going to have to be no cells on the track, and that still doesn't avoid this one. But it would then make this unplayable, and then we could keep this for our last card and discard it. This, like I say, we can still play around that, I think. Okay, I'm going to call that the first part of my Labyrinth extended campaign, hopefully. In quotes, hopefully, extended campaign. Solo play through part 1, yeah. I think that's going to be that. And what I'm going to do over the next few days at work is, to be honest, is go over the rules again. Because I'm getting caught out quite a bit. So I'm going to go over the base rules and also the Awakening rules, because quite a lot changes made there. And although we're not playing with Awakening cards just yet, we are playing with the Awakening bot. So whether I made that clear at the beginning or not, you got to understand, I'm just transferred over from like playing the game and playing 23 parts of the game, which are, most of my videos are an hour plus. Some of them a little bit under an hour. So let's probably round it up to 24 hours of play. So if I'm leaving things a bit to somebody that's just coming along and watching this from the start, I apologise for that. Maybe go and have a look at the first playthrough and see some of the mistakes, and I'm maybe talk more about things and that. But anyway, okay. Better leave it for now, and hopefully be back tomorrow with another part. Cheers.